Hi guys, we're back with chapter 9 with the unicorn in the barn. Things were a bit easier with Allegra after the rescue of Prissy's egg, especially since I managed to bring back the stupid goose. I only got nipped 4 times doing it. The best thing was Dr. B told Moon Pearl she needed to stay until her babies were born, even though her hoof was all healed up. I didn't mind mucking out the stall anymore because I got to take her out to the pasture for exercise. Moon Pearl was so smart. I didn't have to use a halter or a lead or anything. She would just follow me along the path. I'd never seen a prettier sight than a unicorn grazing in the meadow. Sometimes I had to leave her in the little paddock while I did other stuff around the clinic, but I always made sure I was the one who groomed her. The money was nice too. Once in a while, I could get Steve to take me to the grocery store and buy things that I liked for a change. Although he always seemed to find my box of Oreos no matter where I hid them. Once he used the whole pack making pie crust, but he let me have half the pie, so that wasn't so bad. I bought carrots and apples for Moon Pearl and catnip for Timothy. It was early November when Jamal Witherspoon and his mom brought in his dog Butterfinger. She was a great dog, a big old golden mutt with floppy ears and a tail that was never still. Jamal got her for his birthday when he was 5. He taught her how to shake and fetch and all. Every school day, she was waiting at the end of his driveway when he got off the bus. Since Grandma moved, nobody was ever waiting for me to get home. Jamal and his mom were in the waiting room when I went to sweep in there that day. Jamal's mom had to take off work to bring Butterfinger to see Dr. B. She was lying on the floor at Jamal's feet. "Hey, Jamal," I said. The dog didn't thump her tail at me. "What's up with Butterfinger?" "She's feeling real bad. She quit coming to meet me at the bus, and she doesn't want to play frisbee anymore. Now she's got this lump on her jaw, and yesterday she didn't eat. Not even when I sneaked her a chicken heart." I could see he was awful upset about her. His foot was tapping a mile a minute like he does when he takes a hard test at school. His mom looked upset too, and kept bending over to pet Butterfinger, making little shushing noises. I could see the lump close to the edge of the dog's mouth. "Don't worry," I told him. "Dr. B can fix her right up." Georgie came into the room and said to Jamal, "Come with me." I went back to sweeping, making sure I got all the yellow dog hair out from under the bench where Jamal had been sitting. My last chore of the day was putting out fresh water for all the patients. I went to check the cages, and there was Butterfinger. She had one of those cones around her neck, and near as I could tell, the lump was gone from her jaw. She lifted her head to whimper at me, then slumped back down. "Hey, girl." I stuck my fingers through the wires to scratch her head and gave her tail a feeble wave. When I finished putting out the water, I went to find Dr. B. She was in her office doing something at the computer. "That yellow dog, she belongs to my friend Jamal. Why didn't she go home tonight?" "She was very dehydrated, Eric. So we're keeping her to inject more fluids and more nutrition. Dr. B looked tired. More tired than usual, that is. She'll probably go home tomorrow." "Good. She's okay then." "Not this time, Eric," Dr. B said real soft. "She had an abscessed tooth, which we pulled and treated, but she also has cancer." "But I told Jamal you'd fix her, that you'd make her all better." "The cancer's already spread. That's why her breathing is so labored. Treatment is expensive. She would need chemotherapy and maybe more surgery. It would require a long recovery time and would be painful for her. She's a young dog and has a good chance, but still, it might not work." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Can't you fix her anyway? You just got one of those goose eggs. You must be rich now. I knew cancer was expensive, but people got treated for it all the time. Dr. B just shook her head. It's not that simple. Those eggs pay for a lot, but not always everything we need. I'll send her home with some medications to make her comfortable, but that's all I can do, unless the family decides differently. I could pay, I offered. You could use that money for Butterfinger instead of paying me. That's sweet, Eric, but it wouldn't be enough, even if Miss Weatherspoon accepted your offer. It's just not a matter of money. She thinks it's wrong to make Butterfinger suffer through chemo, losing her fur and feeling much worse than she does now. She doesn't want her pet to go through that, and she wants to spare Jamal watching his dog in pain. And we can't treat an animal without an owner's permission. I bet Jamal would give you permission. He loves that dog more than anything. It has to be from an adult. I'm sorry. It's the hardest part of this job, the knowledge that you can't save them all. You just can't let her send her home to die. I'm sorry, but it's all I can do now, said Dr. B. I knew that voice, the one adults use when they aren't going to talk anymore, no matter how unfair something is. I stood there a bit longer, but she just went back to clicking around on her computer. In the recovery room, I hunkered down next to Butterfinger's crate. She licked my fingers when I reached in to pet her. I had promised Jamal that we would fix Butterfinger. There had to be something I could do. Then I remembered Moon Pearl. One touch of her horn had cured Timothy. Those unicorn hairs had made Grandma's hands better. I bet she could help Butterfinger. I checked the front desk. Georgie wasn't there. Then I heard her talking to Dr. B down the hall. No sign of Allegra. The kitchen was empty. If I was quick, I could sneak Butterfinger out to the barn and back before anyone noticed. I quietly opened Butterfinger's crate. She thumped her tail at me, but she couldn't stand up. I pulled the blanket she was lying on toward the door and eased her out of the crate. She whimpered a bit. Shh, it's all right. It's all right, girl. It's all right. I stroked her sides to calm her and felt her ribs all bumpy beneath my hand. I took the cone off her neck, but she could hardly lift up her head. I squatted down, wrapped her in the blanket, and picked her up. Even all bony as she was still heavy. I made it through the kitchen and cradled her on one shoulder while I opened the door. No one noticed it clicking shut. I crunched across the gravel drive and into the barn. The door was creaky, but we got through. Butterfinger started a low whine. A voice came over my head. This barn has a cat. It doesn't need one of those things messing up the place. Timothy leapt from his perch in the hayloft onto a cross brace and down on top of the door. She's not staying. I stopped in front of the unicorn stall. Moon Pearl came over to the railing and huffed a greeting. The lovely rose and new earth smell washed over me, and the dog stopped whimpering. This is Butterfinger, I said. She's real sick and needs your help. I laid Butterfinger down and slid open the door. Moon Pearl stepped out, all graceful and calm. She turned her head and studied the dog. Butterfinger thumped her tail, which was a good sign. Timothy crept along the railing and crouched next to me, taking the whole situation in. Timothy, tell me if Moon Pearl agrees to help. Then will you take this creature out of my barn, preferably somewhere far away? His tail lashed back and forth, which was not a good sign. She'll go back home far away from here. I turned to Moon Pearl. Please. She's my friend's dog, and he loves her more than anything. Can you make her better? Very well. Timothy jumped down to the floor, keeping well away from the dog. Moon Pearl studied Butterfinger, who thumped her tail some more and whined a bit, but didn't stand up. Are you strong? Are you sure you're strong enough for this, my lady? Timothy asked. Moon Pearl twitched her ears back at him, and then she looked at me. She says she will do it as a favor to you. Sweet. This is great. Butterfinger would get better. Jamal would be happy. Dr. B could keep her old goose egg money for other patients, and I could keep my paycheck too. A win-win all around. I scratched Moon Pearl on her favorite place under her chin. She pulled back and nuzzled my hand. Thanks, Beauty, I said. She took a couple of steps closer to Butterfinger and then lowered her head. Her horn touched Butterfinger on her side very gently, near her heart. Light seemed to flow down the horn like water, and a strange humming feeling filled the barn. She held her horn there for maybe 10 seconds before shuffling back a few steps, her head still low. Butterfinger shivered all over and then scrambled to her feet. She gave 3 short barks and jumped up to lick my face. Phew, dog breath. Then I laughed out loud. It worked. Butterfinger was all better. Butterfinger trotted over to the unicorn, her tail twirling like a helicopter. They touched noses. Butterfinger backed up and made that same funny little bowing motion that Timothy had when the unicorn restored his visibility. The thing has better manners than I expected, said Timothy. Now kindly remove it from my barn. He retreated to the top of the railing of the stall. I hugged Moon Pearl's neck. I knew you could do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She backed into her stall and I slid the door shut. She folded her legs, first the front, then the back, and settled onto the straw bedding with a sigh. I gave her a carrot from my stash in the feed room. Her head was drooping a bit as she munched the carrot. Butterfinger was frisking around, good as new. I gave her a big hug. Butterfinger had been dying, and now she was fine. Maybe Moon Pearl could do the same thing for Grandma. She wasn't dying, just old and crippled up. It should be easier to fix her. We slipped out of the barn and up to the kitchen door. I opened it slowly and checked around. Nobody in sight. But I could hear voices down the hall. I picked up Butterfinger so she wouldn't give us away. With her toenails clicking the floor, she licked my face as I put her back in the crate. Shh, go to sleep now. She stuck her nose through the wire, trying to give me one last lick, then curled up on the floor of the crate. I had turned out the lights and went home. Chapter 10. The next day at school, Jamal looked kind of down. I knew Butterfinger was okay, but I didn't say anything. Maybe if I went straight to the clinic from the bus, I'd get to see him when they picked her up. It would be so cool, Butterfinger being her old self and Jamal all smiles. Of course, I'd have to let Dr. B take the credit, but it would be worth it. I was getting pretty good at vet stuff in this secret-keeping thing, too. I bopped through the kitchen door and into the holding room. A cat was sleeping in a cage on the lower level. A parakeet sat on a high shelf, and the squonk water was swirling in its jar. I still hadn't seen it or heard it sing, but the water moves sometimes. Butterfinger wasn't in her crate. I guess Jamal's mom must have already picked her up. Too bad I missed seeing Jamal's face when he found out Butterfinger was all better. I got out the broom and dustpan and began sweeping. The sooner I got done here, the sooner I could go be with Moon Pearl. Dr. B was standing in the doorway to the kitchen. She didn't look happy. She wagged her finger in that way that meant, come here. I stuck the broom and pan back in the closet and followed down the hallway to her office. She sat down behind her desk and motioned for me to sit too. Timothy was perched on the edge of her desk, staring at me. I was beginning to get a bad feeling about things. So, Eric, Butterfinger looked much better this morning, said Dr. B. So much better that I ran some tests on her and discovered that her cancer tumors were gone. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? Uh-oh. Timothy suddenly began washing his paw, avoiding me. I looked down at my feet, trying to think of what to say. Have you been to the barn today? The doctor said. No, ma'am. Then you haven't seen the unicorn. I looked up. No, ma'am. The doctor was staring at me hard, and Timothy was too. What was going on? She's weak today and isn't eating. A spurt of fear shot through me. You used her to heal Butterfinger, didn't you? I nodded. Is Moon Pearl going to be okay? I think so, Dr. B said gently. I relaxed back into the chair. Timothy was still staring at me. The doctor rubbed her temples, then looked back up at me. Eric, what you did was wrong. Wrong? How could it be wrong to make my friend's dog better? Moon Pearl had magic that could make her all better. Make all the sick animals here better. We don't own these creatures, none of them, but especially the magical ones. If they are pets, they belong to other people, and we can't do certain things without their owner's permission. Do you understand? But Moon Pearl doesn't have an owner, I said. She can help all the other animals that come here. You could be the best vet ever with her helping you, helping us. The unicorn is a wild creature. She doesn't belong to us. She has her own purpose. Even though healing power is part of that purpose, it seems that healing weakens her now. I don't know if that's because she's pregnant or if that's how it always works. I just don't know enough about unicorns. We can't risk it. I didn't mean to hurt her. I would never do that, I cried. Timothy glared at me. I told you that magic sometimes has a cost to the magic user. The lady is paying that cost now. I have a picture of Dr. B and Eric and the cat. My throat got tight and my nose stung. Clenching my teeth, I looked back down at my shoes so Dr. B couldn't see how red my face was. I know you didn't mean to hurt her, she said, but we have a responsibility to these animals, all of them, to heal them, to keep them safe. Even if it doesn't harm the unicorn to heal, I can't use her to cure animals that other vets can. It would be suspicious and draw too much attention, especially when the cure stops after she leaves. Timothy jumped down from the desk and came over to rub his head against my leg. I reached down to stroke his back. I didn't see why Moon Pearl had to leave. She liked it here. Timothy jumped into my lap and I hugged him. Moon Pearl doesn't have to leave. She can stay here. I'll take good care of her. She could use her magic only when she wants to. I asked her to heal Butterfinger. I didn't force her. It's true, the boy did ask. She did it as a favor to him, said Timothy. I hugged him tighter, feeling the rumble of his purr. Timothy understood. He was on my side. Eric, once her foals are born and she's recovered, we have to let her go. She doesn't belong in a barn. Even if the unicorn stayed here, we would still be risking discovery. She's not like Timothy or Prissy. She doesn't look ordinary. No one must ever see her. No one will. I'll make sure of that, I said. We have to let her go, Dr. B said. It's not up for discussion. Now promise me that you won't use her to heal any more animals. You've kept the magical animal secret, so I know I can trust your promise. Do I have your word on this? Yes, ma'am, I said. Good boy, said Timothy. Now scratch my left ear. I did, and the right one for good measure. Everybody in this place was so bossy, except for Moon Pearl. Moon Pearl hasn't been groomed yet today, said Dr. B. Why don't you go do that? She smiled briefly, then turned on her computer. Okay, I said, letting Timothy go as I stood up. He hopped back on the desk, then into Dr. B's lap. I stopped in the kitchen and got an apple from the stash I kept for Moon Pearl and cut it into slices. I could hear Georgie talking to someone in one of the exam rooms, but no sign of Allegra. She probably knew all about Butterfinger and my getting in trouble, so I really didn't want to see her at that particular moment. As I closed the barn door, Moon Pearl nickered to me. Her head was poking out of the stall, watching me. She looked okay, and I sighed in relief. "Hey, Beauty," I said softly. I opened the stall door and stepped inside. Honk! Prissy flapped at me and checked me out with one mean little black eye. The goose and the unicorn had become pals, and the doctor let Prissy sleep in the stall sometimes. I gave Prissy an apple slice, and she settled into the straw next to Moon Pearl. I held out my hand flat with another apple slice on it. Moon Pearl picked it up delicately with her lips, no teeth at all. I fetched the curry brush from the shelf and began working down from her jaw along the side of her neck and withers. She nibbled my sleeve, asking for more apple as I brushed her rump. "I'll go on," I said, showing her my empty hands. Moon Pearl snorted at me and turned to slurp down some water. She did seem tired. The skin around her eyes looked darker, but I could tell she still liked me. Everything was going to be okay. This is Eric and Moon Pearl. Mm-hmm. Oh. Sorry. All right, and that is the end of chapter 10. See you later.